Hi everyone, and welcome to this video where we're just going to go over the workflow for accessing these exercises from the programming course notes in the Repl.it browser-based software. So this is useful if you're on a Chromebook or a device which you don't have administrative rights to, or you can't for some reason install Python or Atom, or you just don't want to, and you can access all of these exercises directly inside the browser using Repl. So I'm just going to go through that process, and this is going to be sort of the first setup. So you should see everything exactly as you would the first time you do this. So the first thing you need to do is go and create a GitHub account. So you go to github.com, click sign up, and then create your account. So once you've done that and you've clicked through that next section, which asks you to choose a little couple of boxes, you'll be greeted with this page. So I'm just going to go and verify my email. So jump over to my email and verify my email address. Just do that now. And then I'm just going to go through here and skip this for now. I should be greeted with my GitHub dashboard. So that's all I need to do with GitHub for now. So I'm just going to close that down. And then I'm going to go and sign up for a Repl.it account. And I'm going to do that using my GitHub account. This is important. So if you go up to Repl.it, click sign up, and then click the GitHub icon, then you should be straight into this page, which will ask you to authorize Repl and your GitHub account to connect. So make sure you do that. And then once that's done, you should be straight in then to Repl.it. So leave those two alone for now. They're signed in, they're ready to go, you've signed up for them. And now we're ready to go to the course notes. So if we find one of the exercises inside part one, let's do Ada Lovelace. So if I go and accept that exercise, then again, it's going to ask me to authorize. You need to do this 3 times. This is the second. We authorize GitHub to talk to GitHub Classroom, and then you get this page. So we click on accept this assignment. It tells us then that it's configuring this repository. And then if we just refresh the page, we should then be ready to go. Now, since this is going to be talking about working in Repl.it, we click on work in Repl.it. And then one more time, it's going to ask us to authorize GitHub Classroom to talk to Repl.it. Once that's done, we click work in Repl.it again, and we should be into the interface, which is allowing us to do the exercise. So once that's cloned over, I'm just going to talk through exactly how to do this first exercise, how to submit it back to GitHub, and how to check whether or not it is correct. So once you've read part 1 of the notes and you've come through to this README file, this README file tells you exactly what this exercise is supposed to do. And it basically says that you need to write a program which outputs Ada Lovelace as a string. So if I go into SRC, SRC stands for source, and in all of these exercises, our exercise files live in the SRC directory. I click on exercise.py and I complete my code. So in this case, all I need to do is print Ada Lovelace. And then if I run that, the first time it runs, it actually installs the PyTest library, which allows us to test the code in the background. So it does all of this sort of stuff on the right-hand side. The first time it runs, it only does that once, but you should still see that it prints Ada Lovelace. If I run it again, it gets rid of all that stuff and just prints exactly what I want. Now, to check whether or not that's correct, and by correct, I mean that that output is exactly what it says it should be in the README file, then what I'm going to need to type over in this right-hand side is Python, and then a space, a dash, and an M, and then a space, and then PyTest. And this actually tests my code against the automated tests that have been written for this particular exercise. So if I press return on that and it runs, it should tell me that my code passes the test because it is correct. If it wasn't correct, for example, I'd spelled Lovelace wrong or I'd missed an E. If I go over there and press up, it brings that command back. I can press return, and then it'll tell me actually that time it failed. And if you read this error, it'll tell you where it failed. So it basically says that it should be with an E, but you haven't got an E, so that's what's wrong. Let's just go and correct that. And if I go over there, test it again, it should pass. Now, to send this program back up to GitHub into your own personal repository, and GitHub is where your code is then stored, we can commit and push this directly to GitHub using this branch feature version control over here on the left-hand side. So I'm just going to write in my commit message, and if you want to sort of learn more about Git and GitHub, then go to the section of the notes called local development environments. It talks through exactly what Git and GitHub do there. But for now, I'm just going to kind of leave that alone and click commit and push. That's going to send up my code to GitHub. And then if I click this link at the top, I should then be able to open up my personal GitHub repository. So you can see that it's personal to me because it's got my GitHub username tagged on the end, and that's the one that I set up when I set up my GitHub account. And then this little orange dot tells me whether or not the tests have passed or failed. So if I refresh that page, it should eventually, when the tests and the checks complete, just refresh it one more time, it should eventually turn to a green tick. And once all of those tests have passed, if the code is correct, then it will become a green tick. So just refresh that once more and you've got a green tick. If the code is incorrect, and for example, we had pushed that one instead, I'm just going to type in attempt solution wrong over there. If I'd committed and pushed that one up instead, and then I'd gone back to my repository and refreshed the page, and once again, it's going to attempt to do the tests in the background. Eventually, once it's refreshed, it's going to turn up with a red cross. So let's go fix it, just make sure it's right, and then we'll push it back up one more time. There. And if you clicked on this red cross, you could see exactly what happened. And it's exactly the same error as we saw in Repl.it. So you can be sure that you'll get a green tick by going to Repl and making sure you've got the Python M PyTest correct. Once you know that that's passed, it's exactly the same test that runs in here. So we should then eventually, when all the tests have completed, get back the green tick. So that is the process for submitting these exercises via Repl.it. And like I said, this is useful if you just want to work in a browser and you don't want to bother downloading and installing Python or Atom onto your machine and setting up your local development environment. And if you're just getting started with Python, that's probably recommended. Just stick with this for now. And then once you get kind of the hang of it a little bit more, go back and get it downloaded onto your machine and installed locally. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the course.